Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills Housing Update. So it seems like every other week we either have high sales or high new inventory, and then it's flip-flopping because when we have high new inventory, the next week we see high sales. So last week we had really high sales, and this week the numbers have dipped a bit. So let's take a look at what happened this week. So in Georgetown this week, we had 19 properties sell, which is definitely down from the 30 the week prior. But of those 19, 10 of them sold over asking. So we definitely are still seeing a lot of demand. In terms of new listings this week, we had 24 new listings. One was a relist, so 23 new listings entering the market. That's not a huge gap between our sales and our listings. And it's still a good sign that we are seeing some new properties entering the market. But I had a listing this week in Georgetown that had 39 showings on it and 6 offers at a pretty high price point. And when we think about that, that is going to take a lot of inventory to meet the kind of demand we're seeing. And again, that's in the high price points. When we look at this week's inventory levels, we are definitely in a situation underneath 800,000 in Georgetown. In Acton this week, we had 4 properties sell. 2 of them were over asking. So a normal week in Acton, there was 4 new listings. So things are about even there, but there is still not a lot of available inventory under the really high demand price point under 700,000 in Acton. In Glen Williams this week, we had no sales, but we did have 3 properties enter the market, which is good news for the inventory levels there. In Limehouse, we had no sales and no new listings. In the rural market, we had 1 property sell and 2 new listings. So we'll be up a little bit in the rural market. So now let's look at available inventory. We are up to 103 active listings in Halton Hills this week. 16 are sold conditional, which is up from last week. So technically our available inventory is still remaining about the same. It's too low. In Georgetown this week, we have 56 active listings, which is slightly up. But when we look at the price points, it's a problem underneath 800,000. So our inventory under 700,000 is at 12 active listings, which is slightly down. But where we saw a massive change this week is between the 7 and 800 range. Last week we had 8 available properties in that price range, and this week we have 2. So we are definitely seeing properties just fly off the shelf that come up under 800,000 because that really is our opening price point. Our $800 to $1 million inventory is just up slightly to 13 active listings. So over $1 million, we did see quite a few properties enter the market this week, and we are up from 23 listings. We now have 29 active listings. So overall, the inventory is sort of fluctuating. We are seeing new properties in Georgetown, but definitely under 800,000. If you are a buyer in that price point right now, you are probably struggling to find something. In Acton right now, we have 17 available properties, which is not a high number, but it's an okay number, and things are staying pretty steady there. Glen Williams is up to 6 active listings. The starting price point there though right now is $1.275 million. So unless you've got a high budget, don't bother looking in Glen Williams. In Limehouse, we're staying steady at 3 active listings, and the inventory in the rural market is at 21 active listings. So up slightly, but still down overall. So I'll tell you, being on the listing side of it in the last week has just been insane. The amount of showings we are seeing is out of control. And what really worries me is how this is ever going to catch up to buyer demand. When we're seeing 30 to 50 showings on a property, there is not the kind of inventory to support that. So I think our prices in August are going to continue to rise. I think the demand doesn't seem to be slowing down. I think the message is getting out, and there are people who are thinking about selling who are entering the market, but we need more of that, because otherwise this is just going to be a big supply and demand issue where prices are driven up because the demand is just so high. So like every week, I am now excited to see what happens week to week. This is not great news for buyers, but it is good news for sellers. We're halfway through August and the numbers are crazy. So I think that trend's going to continue. So that's it for this week. Come back next Tuesday to see what happens this week in our Halton Hills housing market. Have a great week, everyone.